What up? Welcome back to the average episode. And yep, Saints Row the third for the third time. This will probably be the last Saints Row video I make, but I'm not promising anything yet. And if you look closely to my dude, he's ninja-ing. That's right. My dude in Saints Row is ninja-ing. If you know what that is, let me know in the comments. You know what it is. If you guys know, you know what I'm talking about, son. And I want to play a new game, so let me know in the comments what game I should play next on Downrange Gaming. And if you're liking the Downrange Gaming, show some love by hitting the thumbs up. And you know, you subscribe. I'm sure you subscribe. You subscribed. I don't know why I keep talking like that. I'm acting a little crazy today. So, what was I going to say? Yeah, so we're talking about Downrange Gaming. And I talked about being in the desert, Kuwait. Ali Salim was the name of the base. And I was talking, I'm running out of stories now. I'll talk about some of the real interesting stuff. I wanted to say it for the end of Kuwait stories. But the real interesting stuff I could talk about is, as security forces, you know, our job, we're basically infantry for the Air Force. So we had some pretty crazy job things we had to do. And one of the things, I remember when we got there, there's these things called flyaway missions. And you can volunteer for them, but they always needed, you know, a couple security force members to do it. Like, they would pop up here and there. And basically, the flyaway mission was, as a security force member, we're trained to, you know, do security for aircrafts, no matter where they are. So you would jump on a C-130, and most likely you'd fly to Iraq, because Kuwait was like a stop for deployments to Iraq. And, you know, you would fly to Iraq, you'd stop at any base. A big one we would go to is Balad, I think was one of them. And you would jump out the plane. They would drop off all the cargo, whatever. Basically, your job was to do security for that plane, for that aircraft. See, actually, in the Air Force, you do not refer to a plane as a plane. You refer to it as an aircraft. Anyhow, speaking of aircraft, I'm flying some crazy aircraft that doesn't... that doesn't exist, but it reminds me of like a Harrier, if you know what that is. But I was talking about aircrafts, and I was talking about doing security for them. So you jump out the plane, you would do security for them, and, you know, they would drop off cargo. It could be any situation. It could be all kinds of crazy things that you do. But basically, you drop off cargo, you jump back on the plane, you go back to Kuwait. You know, sometimes you'd be on a flyaway mission for 2 to 3 days. Now, my experience with flyaway missions, luckily, I had nothing too crazy happen to me when I volunteered for flyaway missions. We went to Iraq. I actually went to Fallujah. I don't know if you guys remember during the Iraqi war, there was a big confrontation in Fallujah, or a big fight with Marines in Fallujah during the war. And the Marines, you know, they needed supplies and stuff. So where's the supplies coming from? Ali Salim. Guess who's on that flight to Fallujah? Your boy. So we get to Fallujah. Stuff is blowing up all over the place. We just dropped the cargo off. I had no direct fire, but I could see, you know, things blowing up from a distance and all. Basically, we were dropping off MREs and I think other stuff. But we dropped it off. I'd never seen a crew work that fast to get pallets off an aircraft. They were so like scared. I mean, I was scared too, but they pushed them things off. I jumped out the plane. Well, I didn't jump out the plane, but, you know, we landed. I jumped out, did security. Nothing really happened. They unloaded all the supplies, packed up, we left. But the scary thing was, this is in a C-130. The scary thing is when you're in the C-130 and you got to do a, I can't remember what it's called, like a tactical landing where you land so fast. That's one of the things that's scary. The second thing that's really scary is if you're in a C-130 and all of a sudden you see flares pop and like the aircraft does some kind of crazy maneuver. This was basically like an RPG just got fired at the C-130. So that happened on the way out and the flares popped and I didn't know what was going on. I mean, I was briefed on like how that happens, but I thought that was it. Like, this is going down. And they pop flares. I guess it, you know, with an RPG, it's heat. It goes toward heat-seeking. Sorry. Heat-seeking missile, and, you know, it goes to the flare, and we take off, we land. We get back to Kuwait, everything's fine. But I only went on maybe one other flying away mission after that, because when we landed, when we did that tactical landing, it scared the crap out of me. I won't lie. But I did do that, and then I had other troops that did flyaway missions, and they were telling their story that I can't remember what base my friend landed into, but he had to stay overnight because the base was getting hit by mortar attack. It was in Iraq. And I mean, it was all the time that would happen if you were stationed in Iraq. I think one security force member that I'm real good friends with to this day, his name's Adam Corchado. He was actually deployed the same time as me. We used to talk on the phone all the time. He was in Iraq and I was in Kuwait. And we would jump on the phone because it would be easy to call each other because it was just, you know, a kind of a landline. And he was getting mortar attacked like every other day. And then one day, a troop was at a smoke pit, security forces, and a mortar hits, and he lost, I think, both his legs or his arm. I don't know if he died. I can't remember, but you know, his limbs were on the ground, and my friend was at that base. I don't know if he witnessed that. I can't remember, but it was part of his like crew. So I don't know. That's kind of crazy. And another story I wanted to talk about, a flyaway mission. This wasn't my flyaway mission. This was a guy I was stationed with when he went on his flyaway mission. And they went to Iraq. I can't remember what base, but they're dropping off cargo. He jumps out the plane. He's doing security, and he has an RPG skip. Like, I guess they fired an RPG at him, and it skipped off the runway. He's sitting on, well, not the runway, but the flight line where the aircraft's at. Skipped under the plane and like missed, but it hit the ground, didn't explode, and you know, they had to pack up and get the hell out of there. I don't know if he ever returned fire or if he even knew where it came from, but he saw like an RPG just straight up skip off the runway under the aircraft he was protecting, which I was like, holy cow, dude, you know, like, that's really scary. If that thing would have exploded under that plane. And I realize I keep calling the aircrafts planes again. I know I'm not in the military, so I don't have to call it an aircraft, but you know what I'm talking about. Well, that pretty much sums up my whole deployment. I can't really remember anything else. I'm sure there'll be some more stories that I remember. I'm like, oh yeah. So I'll just have to get back to it if I remember. I'm going to move along in the storyline. And so I basically was deployed for 7 to 8 months. And I came home. Man, I can't remember what month I came home. Well, I didn't go home, actually. I went back to Germany. And I remember I was like so happy that day we were leaving. And I had like pictures of how fit I got. I remember I got in really good shape. And I remember looking at the pictures, waiting for our flight to leave, like, yeah, you know, I did it. I got where I wanted to be. It was good deployment. Saved a ton of money. Like, that's a good thing about being deployed, is you have nothing to spend your money on. You can just stack it, and you get paid a little bit more when you're deployed. So I had a good chunk of change in my pocket when I was leaving, and yeah, and I finished up, went back to Germany, and the funny thing was, guess who picked me up from my deployment? Like, they picked me up when I got in. It was my ex-wife, which was fine. She was just being nice. I mean, we were already separated and all, and we were kind of like, we already understood we were not together anymore. So she was nice, picked me up. And I remember I wanted to stop at my P.O. box, because we would get a P.O. box when you're in Germany, you know, so you can get stuff shipped to you. And I ordered like $1,000 worth of clothes online, so when I got back to Germany, I just was all swagged out. And on top of it, I didn't like German clothes. Like, I didn't like shopping in Germany. So I ordered like a ton of Abercrombie and Fitch. At the time, I liked Abercrombie and Fitch. Now I hate it. But that time, I remember I spent like a G. And I was just so happy to be home. And then I went home on leave. I think I was back in Germany for like a week or two. And then I took leave back home to see my friends in New Jersey. And I had plans on buying an Audi with all that money I saved in deployment. When I got back to Germany, I was going to buy Audi because you can get them a little cheaper. I was going to get like an A3, which is dope. Like, A3 is a little hatchback Audi, like a brand new one. And I was all ready. I had put down a deposit, and I went home on leave to my friends in New Jersey. This is what happens. And we went out to like Atlantic City, I want to say, and a couple other places. And just basically by the time I leave, I was home on leave for maybe like a week or two. I get back to Germany and I cannot buy the Audi. I burned all my money just partying on leave back home with my friends, which it was worth it, but I didn't get the sweet Audi. I ended up buying like a used Audi for like a fraction of the price. But I mean, I was just so upset. Like, once I sat down and thought, like, man, what did I waste all my money on? I remember it was in Atlantic City, there was hotel rooms, there was this, there was that, and it wasn't enough money to straight up buy the Audi flat out. It was just a good down payment, and then I was going to finance the rest. And that pretty much sums it up for my deployment to Kuwait. And I got a couple more stories about Germany, and then I go to Korea after that. And in between Germany and Korea is when I meet Gina, so I'll get into all those stories. So again, thanks for tuning in to Downrange Gaming Son. Make sure you give me a thumbs up, and if you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe so you know when I upload the next video. And I'll see you next time. Peace on Street Son.